Ladies and gentlemen, my name is James Coley, and we are gathered here to discuss capital punishment and whether it's justified in the legal system. Now, as we've discussed in class, unfortunately there's no universally agreed on definition of what the goal of the law is. We've spent much of the semester talking about whether the law is supposed to provide more moral or more statistical benefits. There's a variety of schools of thought, but it turns out that no matter which one you subscribe to, the death penalty is still supported. So what I'd like to do is just briefly go over two of the major schools of thought that we've talked about, which are natural law and legal positivism, and then discuss how both of these schools of thought support the death penalty. So the first definition we're going to go over is natural law. This was covered in our readings by Thomas Aquinas, who stated that this is the first precept of law, that good is to be done and promoted, and evil is to be avoided. The way that evil is to be avoided is, of course, by the punishments that the law is entitled to inflict. Now, natural law is based on the natural rights of humans, so we need to find morally correct solutions instead of statistical ones. A very important source on this topic is philosopher John Locke. As a little background, John Locke is often referred to as the father of modern liberalism, and his theories on the role of the government feature very heavily in the United States Constitution. He originally coined the phrase that people have a natural right to defend life, health, liberty, or possessions, which is where the phrase life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness comes from. And he had many revolutionary theories on the rights of people to revolt in the case of an unjust government around which the American Revolution was also based. Now, Locke said that a civil society is necessary to resolve conflicts. He said that a government must be created with a right of making laws with penalty of death, and that without this right, the good cannot be properly maintained and society collapses. In other words, for an effective government to exist, the government that will benefit the people correctly, the death penalty must exist. And John Locke's only one example of this, and he's a good example because he's extremely liberal in terms of not giving the government a lot of power. Many of the more traditional natural law theorists, like Thomas Hobbes or Robert Fillmore, support the role of government in the death penalty far more strongly. In general, the history of natural law and its philosophers is a history of support for the death penalty. The second definition I'd like to go over is legal positivism, as discussed by Posner in class, among others. The basic idea here is that the law should create the maximum amount of utility for the people, whether through safety, peace of mind, or economic benefit. Now, this is a mathematical concept, so now statistics are our best bet for reasoning. First, I'd like to take a look at the issue of deterrence. Through history, most of the old studies have been mainly inconclusive regarding whether the death penalty deters murder, since you can't murder people for clinical trials, and most arguments on both sides can be summed up as correlation is not causation. However, in recent years, a slew of new studies have suggested that the death penalty does deter potential murders. The Criminal Justice Legal Foundation has posted no less than 5 scientifically rigorous papers in the last 2 years showing that there is a link between capital punishment and the deterrence of crimes. It's not entirely decisive, but as of right now, science suggests that there is a slight deterrent effect of the death penalty and that it's better to have it in place for public safety than to not have it. In addition, utility can be increased by increasing the public peace of mind and happiness. As of right now, the United States population is strongly in favor of the death penalty. The most recent Rasmussen poll from June 2010 puts 62% of the population in favor and 26% against, and the most recent Gallup poll has 64% in favor of the death penalty and 30% against. This is another way that happiness and utility are increased, and in both these ways, legal positivism also supports the death penalty. In conclusion, no matter what you think the purpose of the law is, you should still support the death penalty. If you support natural law and the natural rights of people, you'll see that the most important natural law philosophers and thinkers agree that the death penalty is in order to protect justice. If you support positivism and the theory that the law should do as much good for the people as possible, ignoring the moral issues, there is statistical evidence that having the death penalty in place also benefits the most people. In other words, all law will become better with capital punishment. Thank you.
And I will be making an argument in support of the claim that capital punishment is justified in the legal system. Capital punishment is a widely debated issue in today's society due to conflicting moral and legal concerns between opposing sides. And now I'm going to elaborate on some of the reasons why capital punishment is justified in the legal system. Capital punishment, in my opinion, should be utilized in moderation only in select cases and will only be justified and effective in these cases. For example, I feel that murders that are committed with aggravating circumstances, such as the murder of multiple people, a peace officer, a child, or children, or murder accompanied with other crimes are distinguishingly more severe than a murder committed without these circumstances. It is fairly clear that a murder accompanied with rape, involving forms of racial hate, or involving multiple people is significantly more evil and most definitely distinguishable from murder of lesser severity. With increased severity comes increased punishment, and I feel that capital punishment is appropriate in these cases as it serves as a more severe form of justice for a more severe crime. In addition, murderers who feel that they have done little or no wrong or never will feel any remorse for their actions, which is frequently the case in the more gruesome evil murders as I earlier described, should also be subject to the death penalty, simply because imprisonment will never be enough to show them that what they did was wrong. For example, Steve and Judy raped and murdered a woman and drowned her 3 children, and afterwards felt that he did no wrong. This case clearly presents the situation of a murderer who will never get better. He'll always feel that he did no wrong, will never feel any guilt, and if he has a chance, will kill again. He suffered the death penalty because imprisonment would never sway his views and thus be ineffective, and I feel that the death penalty was the best path of action given the situation. Now that I've described cases in which I feel capital punishment is justified, I seek to back these claims with moral and legal arguments. Addressing the morality of capital punishment, we can assess capital punishment with a sort of cost-benefit analysis or the argument that Stephen Nathanson calls the argument from desert. Simply put, one who commits the type of murder previously described takes the life of an innocent person. The murderer deprives someone of their right to life, safety, and in some cases, dignity, and as a result is indebted to that person. Therefore, he most definitely deserves to be punished in some way, and taking into consideration the degree of murder he committed and his state of mind afterwards, may deserve capital punishment as the most effective way to bring him to realize that the actions he committed were wrong. The argument from desert justifies capital punishment by stating that some people, because of the crimes they committed and the debts they created, deserve to lose their life in return. Addressing the legal perspectives of capital punishment, we will refer to Ernest van den Haag's argument that justice requires punishing the guilty and protecting the innocent. Capital punishment serves, for one, as an important aspect of severe punishment, and therefore justice. In order to uphold and promote justice, the courts must administer punishment appropriately. This means that a judge will come to an unbiased conclusion based on the facts of a case and deliver a punishment that is either equal in magnitude to the crime committed or sufficiently severe to bring the guilty party to realization of wrongdoing. In cases I previously described, capital punishment may be the best option as it satisfies these conditions of being equal in magnitude to the crime committed and being significant enough to teach the murderer a lesson. In addition, justice must also protect the innocent. This means that punishments must be administered to both support the present and future safety of the innocent. A judge may jail a criminal for raping a woman in order to protect the woman from being raped by the man again. This condition protects the immediate safety of an innocent person. Similarly, the legal system must protect the future lives of the innocent, and an effective way of ensuring that this is carried out is administering punishment, the death penalty, for example, that is intimidating enough to reduce the future occurrences of crime. For example, if a gang member rapes and kills a woman, future gang members may be less inclined to commit the same act if the original led to the death penalty rather than imprisonment. Basically, the legal system would be preventing future crimes and protecting the innocent by administering severe punishments for severe crimes. Therefore, capital punishment can protect the innocent by promoting intimidating measures in the legal system. Overall, while there are many moral and legal arguments against the death penalty, there are some strong moral and legal arguments in its favor. Thank you.
My name is Eleanor Mason, and today I'm going to be debating in opposition of the use of the death penalty in our current legal system. The sanctity of human life is a powerful idea. It is this idea that gives us pause as we consider torturing a terrorist, terminating an unborn fetus, or sentencing an individual to death. It is an idea that has pervaded our society and is considered a foundation for some of our most important legal documents. As stated in the Declaration of Independence, individuals are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness simply because of their existence. It is the foremost regulation governments ask their citizens to obey in dealing with one another and with those, of course, from different regions. However, to truly embody this notion, governments are obliged to abolish the death penalty and demonstrate the same respect for the sanctity of human life as they expect their citizens to show others. The death penalty is reserved for the most heinous crimes individuals commit, such as the murder of a fellow